All right, time for a tiny stream. Tiny, 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 tiny. We're gonna use all the cool stuff that was vibed over the last couple of weeks, and we're gonna integrate it into some larger tools to actually benefit from them. I'll be right back. But I'll have to stop fairly early, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right. Um, where to start? I'm gonna start. Let me close all of this stuff. Let me close this. Goodbye. Um, One of the things I did was build a file picker over at some point in the past. And I want to integrate it into my Pinocchio app to kind of have like a render to markdown export file functionality in my tool that I use to talk to LLMs, like my little command line chat client. And the file picker looks okay, but the integration into the chat seems to have I did try to keep backwards compatibility, but it seems to have broken or not work anymore. So in good old vibing ways, we're not going to actually try to figure it out and think. We're just going to try to figure out and think how to get the UI, the LLM to fix it. Although one of the things that I'm going to do, and maybe I should put some brain into it. But let's see. I think I have a tool to test the UI without doing an LLM call. So I think we can do test. And I think that actually hits the LLM. Right? If I do Pinocchio profile YOLO. Maybe it's hard coded. That's not the experiment that I wanted. So let me just quickly open Cursor and just ask questions. I like using Cursor to ask questions because I often want to look at the files. So, and because I use AMP on the command line, because I'm still like kind of worried that there's this bug in there that I used to have. It's just like superstition at this stage. But I know I built a test. There's a chat client here. So maybe that is an option. The other option is, because I do want to have a way to test my Pinocchio, which is my little command line chat bot, to work against an LLM that is not going to cost me money. I could, of course, run it against a local LLM, but that's slow as fuck as well. I could write a little proxy that emulates an LLM. That actually might be a fun thing to build anyway. So I'm not going to build it now, but I'm going to have Manus build it. So I'm going to have it write a mock OpenAI endpoint for the conversations API, and then use the standard Python SDK to talk with it. Mock up an API endpoint server in Golang, and then, right, let's go. This is something that's going to be a useful tool in my toolkit. As you can see, I use Manus to kind of like just put my random ideas in there. So always very useful to have that, because the next time I come back, I'm like, oh, that's cool. I forgot about it. So in my experiments, I think UI is a fake one. So that might be what I was looking for, which is command experiments UI hello. All right, and the thing is, if I press Alt S, it's going to ask me to find a file to save the transcript. And it's using the old file picker, it looks like. which is interesting. Is that because my boba tea was from before? So boba tea is my library of like little, because I use the Charm Bracelet bubble tea library and they have bubbles. So I have boba tea, which are my bobas, my widgets, because I'm funny like that. So let me just see if this is actually rebased on origin main. And if I now go back to Pinocchio and go run my experiment and then press Alt S, that's exactly what I had. And then at this point, the UI is blocked. So I think that's enough. I did want to find a like a little way for AMP to fix that, right? So I'm going to tell AMP I am upgrading the file picker in boba-t, and here I do have boba-t docs filepicker.md in Pinocchio UI main.go, experiments UI main.go. The problem is that when I press Alt S, I only get loading. So use tmux to reproduce the behavior. Then use logging with --log level debug --with caller log file. Actually, let me check that this is actually in the test UI as well. If it has my logging library, it doesn't have my logging library, so that's interesting. Oh, it does have a temp UI log. So actually use logging in temp UI log to trace what is going on. And I think that's it. So that's the first quality of life improvement that I want to have in Pinocchio, is basically having the new file picker, which kicks fucking ass, and have that integrated. And here I just give the model tmux so that it's able to interact with terminal UIs. And that's about it. Then the other thing that I have is like, I do want to have something to do slash commands. And the thing that's annoying here is that I know I had either Manus or I vibed something with slash commands one day. Just why is search always so freaking slow? So I know this has slash commands, so maybe I vibed it in labs. And that's really the problem about all of this, is that I have no freaking idea where I put that stuff. Because I had a really cool slash command kind of thing going. And now I'm annoyed because I know I already had it at some point, and it's not the REPL one. Let me see if in any of those there's a file called slash commands in GoGo MCP. And then there's a slash command in Jesus, because Jesus was JS web server. So is it in Jesus? But I don't think so, because it has, oh gosh, where did I put that stuff? Let me grep for slash. How do I glob with RG? Is it -g go? Huh. And I am sure I built that. absolutely sure I built that. Let me see. We're gonna list the files. So it's not Smailnail, it's this one maybe? This is an option, a Goja REPL. This is the one we're looking at in Manus. Datadog CLI, that's not the case. Why is this not sorted alphabetically, by the way? Yeah, I think it has to be in this Goja REPL. It has to be. Let's check this out. June 16. Oh. Oh, there's a new Go release. Interesting. Go Tmux. What was I doing in this package? Yeah, it's not that. Like I had this interesting. Where did I put that stuff? It was around these days. So find type D depth 1, depth 2, max depth. Max depth. There we go. And around that time, we have the conversation manager. PTY-TUI. Very odd. Like I wish I could remember when it was. I had like a nice little palette. Oh, maybe I should grep for palette. TUI Inc. Very frustrating. Very, very frustrating because I know I built a nice command palette. Yeah, if I look for command, that's going to be garbage. All right, what do we do with this? Do we decide that I maybe haven't built it, haven't had an agent build it? Do we continue searching for it? That's a good question. This is really the problem with these spaghetti projects, as I call them, is you just like forget, you lose stuff if you're not very organized about it. You really very quickly lose that stuff. So it definitely wasn't after that. So it must have been in between here. Maybe maybe I'm also just making it up. That could also very well be the case. We could also have a go and see these like slash commands, command palette. I'm sure I had one. Very, very odd. Maybe it's the conversation manager. This is going to irritate me. This is like when I lose my keys and then I just like spend 4 days trying to find my keys. I cannot not find them. So we have a conversation manager enhanced. Maybe this is good. Go work use. So we have the search functionality. That's kind of not what I wanted. Although this is also like an interesting quality of life improvement. This one is obviously pretty broken. But that might also be pretty interesting to add. So I think the previous version of the conversation manager, it was okay before I like broke it with adding more features. So let's see what this looks like. GitHub conversation manager appears multiple times. ... go work. And yeah, let's remove this. Yeah, this is weird. It definitely was around that time that I built it. PTY TUI advanced, because I was experimenting a lot with terminal stuff. What was I doing in this one? Oh, this was nesting a terminal inside a bubble T feature, and then TUI Inc. I don't think this had slash commands either. All right, well, maybe we lost them. But I did want to add slash commands to Pinocchio, which I don't know. I don't know where we can find them. I'm very frustrated that I don't find it. Very frustrated. Is it under commands experiments? Tmux control. Bubble T file picker. So this is where we had the file picker. Kind of want to have like a command palette. That would be pretty cool. Well, maybe we'll ask Manus to make one. All right, create a VS Code style command palette in charm bracelet bubble T. Use tmux to validate that it works. Make it overlay a simple chat REPL. Use. So what can we use for overlaying? There's a library that I like using. Maybe I can find it in here. Star.go. There's nothing with overlay in the Go file here. Bubble Tea overlay. Overlay style. So that's the lip gloss v2. Yeah, I guess we can use this library here. Oh, look at that. Edit credentials. History browser. History browser uses an overlay. What even is history browser? Why'd you look at that? I didn't know that I had that. Charm bracelet bubble tea, or it's like use to overlay the command palette. Use what's this like file fast matcher style command name matching? Allow registering commands. Use bubble tea messages to communicate. All right, let's go. Oh, I should say use tmux. Oh no, it says like use tmux. Take screenshots from tmux to show me that it works for real. All right, so we're going to let that run. We have this other Manus that we started. So I had Manus try to do like mermaid in text, but it's a little bit harder than I thought it would be. We have a mock OpenAI server, so that's not a quality of life thing that we wanted to do today. Other quality of life things that I might want to have in here is this history browser looked interesting. It wasn't really good. We have this other history browser that was kind of atrociously not working, but was at least promising. So that might be something else that we could ask AmpCode to fix. And I've never asked AmpCode to fix like a significantly broken kind of terminal UI thing because I didn't know how to have it like look at it. But the question here is this a better way to start? Or is the other one a better way to start? I think this one might potentially be better to start with. Go work. Is there like a go work unuse? Go work edit. Go help work edit. I hate help text that says if you want help, then look at other help. Go work edit. Drop use. Go work edit. Drop use dot. Okay. Go work use dot. Go help work use. Is there like a flag recursively? Nope. Go run command conversation manager. Man, it didn't drop it. What the fuck? All right. Yeah, because I don't think this is like very useful, all of this. And this seems like significantly broken. Significantly more broken than the other one. I can't even quit it. All right, so this is going to be interesting. We're going to try to fix that so that we can have a history browser that works. So we're going to create a new workspace. We're going to use Boba-T. We're going to use Vibes, and we're going to call this clean up history browser. And we're going to go into this workspace. So we now have 2 work trees with 2 repos checked out. We're going to go into Vibes. We're going to go into June 22nd. We're going to go into the conversation manager, and then we're going to go into the conversation snapshot. We're going to use that. And maybe we'll just vibe. I kind of want a vibe at the top. Oh, that wasn't a good one. Oh. Clean up history. Oh my god. I am tired. Clean up history browser. Is there in Boba Tea my charm bracelet guide? There is no guidelines for my charm bracelet coding guidelines, which are these here. And I'm curious actually, because I did have more copies of this one. I guess I don't. All right, we're going to copy these guidelines into Boba Tea. So we're going to go into Vibes, July 6, go YouTube Analyzer, Charm Bracelet, Bubble Tea Guidelines. And we're going to move that to Docs and Boba Tea. We're going to work use Boba Tea. And now we're going to launch AMP. And we're going to say clean up and fix the history browser in 02 history, no, conversation manager, right? Using tmux and following the guidelines in Charm Bracelet, making sure to properly forward keyboard strokes, and reorganizing the filter page. Use tmux to capture screenshots and make sure things are readable and looking okay. Show them to me to ask for confirmation once done. Is that going to be okay? Is that going to be enough? I don't know. Let's try out. All about experimenting. All right, so far we are trying to use our file picker test, right? So I'm not sure what's been going on here. Fix the file picker sizing issue where width are not properly set. Interesting. So was that the issue? That could very well be, where if you call it within another model, this might not be very nice. We could also potentially start looking at this file picker and maybe transforming it into something that's a little bit more amenable to be used as a submodel. I'm curious to see if that actually works now that it has built it. So we were in our Pinocchio quality of life workspace. Going to go into Pinocchio and then we're going to run the experiments with the UI, right? And then if we call Alt S, then indeed I can call and save that as a new file. So one thing that is like a little bit annoying here that I might want to modify is having the help for the browser be a little bit nicer than just like either empty or fully there. The next thing is that if you press escape, it should go back to the conversation. So that's one thing to fix. And maybe that's something we can put into a to-do MD, right? We'll see. We'll let it continue. This is like a good start. We have our command palette demo, which apparently already finished. What are the screenshots like? So this looks not too bad. What's the other screenshot like? All right, well, let's try this out, right? We are here, we're cleaning up the conversation manager snapshot, and we're going to go into our vibes directory. We're going to create, it's July 8th, right? Yeah. And we're going to go into July 8th, and then we're going to unzip the command palette demo, which is fine. We don't need a subdirectory. Going to go into the command palette demo, and then we're going to do go run dot. We need to use that. And if I run it, press Control P to open the command palette, and then I can do help. So the overlay is a little bit weird. It's just the only thing I don't like is like the black on the borders. I don't know if that's because of if that's because of the overlay library. Also, the escape doesn't work. All right, but so this is pretty promising, right? I even made like a nice little chat application. So you can also try a /help, clear, and then you can do this. Yeah, this is pretty nice. So we're gonna add this to to Git. So Sparkle's added command palette prototype, and fuzzy search, that's the name I was looking for before. Now that we have this, we are going to move this into Boba as well, right? So we're going to create a new workspace. Actually, before I do so, I'm going to go, we're going to take our charm bracelet guidelines, and we're going to copy them into Boba docs. We're going to go into Boba. Did I push this? I didn't push this, right? We're not going to go into Boba, and then I'm going to add those docs in here. What's the model change? Oh, it's just like a little bit of logging. I don't know, man. Actually, this is books, add documentation on creating charm bracelet application. And then this is mute, remove logging in conversation model, which should have already been happening because the log info should be killed. All right, well, we'll see what happens. Yeah, having the / command is going to be really nice to add a lot of functionality, I think, to my little Pinocchio application, without overloading the help. And also, it's just something in general that this tool hasn't gotten love for like a year and a half, so it's about time. So we're going to push this, and now that we have both the vibes pushed and the Boba pushed, we're going to do the same thing as before, except this time we're going to call it Pinocchio add. No, we're going to call it like make command palette widget, right? We're going to go into this directory, and we're going to go into Boba-T, go work use dot. We're going to go into vibes, July 8th, into the command palette. We're going to use this, and now in make command palette widget, we're going to start amp, and we're going to say clean up command palette .main.go and turn it into a reusable charm bracelet model according to charm bracelet bubble tea guidelines. Make a demo, use the chat application as a demo in Boba-T command, and use tmux and capture pane to take screenshots to validate everything working well. Show me screenshots at the end. So this also finished the capture. It doesn't show me screenshots, so that's maybe something it doesn't really understand. So the conversation manager, the history browser, has been now cleaned up in the other workspace that we have. So the workspace that we were using is clean up history browser. We can go in there, we can go into the vibes directory, we can see what happened. We're going to add everything that changed in here. Save for, there's probably a binary in there. Yeah, I see the binary here. We're going to remove the binary. But first, we're going to go into that directory. Oh, it was June 22nd. Conversation manager snapshot. Going to remove the conversation manager and opening conversation. So I wonder what these boxes are. Space preview. Can I toggle the preview? I can't, right? So what actually changed here? We do have a UI main, because this looks exactly similar to what we used to have before. So I wonder if the new one is actually the main. What is that? Main.go. That's the main model. Okay. Navigation for Vim style, search for entering search mode. So that was the other thing that was like pretty ugly, right? Command. Search. What is going on? Oh, it's because the keyboard shortcuts don't get, make sure the keyboard shortcuts get routed to the appropriate model, break down the widgets into submodels to make it easier run in subagent. So I hope that this is enough to prompt it to do the right thing. Like the keyboard shortcuts not being like forwarded to the right, or the keyboard presses not being forwarded to the right model is something that happens pretty frequently, and that even though I described it in the charm bracelet guidelines, still is getting wrong, or I haven't updated the guidelines enough. We'll see. However, I guess we could commit this, right? So poop, slightly polished conversation manager. I don't even know what all happened here. But it did organize things into like subviews. Yeah, it has a key map, right? But it's probably not routing key presses correctly. So here it's doing screenshots for me. This is all looking good. So in the meantime here, we have the save functionality, right? And then when we press escape, it crashes. So why it doesn't crash, it exits. So it doesn't look like Pinocchio had needed to have any change it was probably a Boba change then, I guess. So if we go into the quality of life branch and we go, however, in the Boba repo, nothing changed here either. Did I just commit? Is that what I did? 10 minutes ago, fix file picker. Okay. When I press escape, I should return to the chat. Also, the help, short help, should show more useful shortcuts like new file, etc. Also filter on JSON YAML for the saving. We're going to add saving as markdown, but I'm not exactly sure how to do that. I'm also not exactly sure, like, what's the best way to have a file picker in a text mode UI, which requires you to enter a new file name per default. Because I have a shortcut to create a new file, which is N. Maybe that's enough. We'll see. I should have started this in a sub agent, by the way, I realize, but oh well. All right, so we do have our command palette is now advancing, and you can see how this quickly turns into a big boo-boo because there's so many things going on. Why don't you quit, my friend? Why don't you quit? pkill-9 ruby mine. All right, goodbye, my friend. The command palette was added to Boba. So this is all new stuff. Command palette demo and PKG. And if we run it, we have this. We have the same overlay issue that we had before. Also, does it? So here it actually, okay, so does it resize correctly? And if we open the palette and then we resize this, it resizes correctly. All right, so that's cool. That is pretty promising. And then we can quit. I think escape didn't work, right? Escape doesn't close the command palette. And then, so two things. In a sub agent, escape should close the palette. And then when using the overlay, it looks like it overrides the underlying border on the left and right. Use tmux to investigate. All right, so we'll have it fix that. Did I actually commit that? I don't think I did, right? So Boba, I'm gonna say sparkles, add new command palette model. It's not linted yet, probably, but I still want to commit because I don't want to lint it because it's going to cause AMP to reload the file, and I kind of want to avoid that for now. But very cool, very promising, very nice. All right, to think about what we're doing, this is the conversation history. This is the command palette. And then somewhere we do have the file picker getting worked on. And this is the file picker. Any other quality of life improvements? I do want to add tool calling into my tool, but I don't think today is the best day to do that. I do want to refactor something in Pinocchio itself, which might not be a bad moment to try that. So we're going to work on the same repo in two separate work trees. And that's where it would start making sense to like label names of what I'm doing. Because here we're in the command palette, but now the command palette is like in half a kitty over there. What other workspace can we have? We can have this workspace. So I'm going to create a different section. So it's going to be only the Pinocchio repository for now. And I'm going to say pass watermill subscriber through context. And the idea here is I use an event-driven architecture to do the UI, the streaming UI. And currently I do pass an explicit subscriber through all the way down to the streaming API calls. And that means that this event subscriber is like in every signature. And often I don't, even when I don't have a UI, for example, or when I want to pass like, what am I saying? I have different needs to have these underlying streaming calls pass events up, but I don't want to, everything that uses a step should not have to like bubble these subscribers everywhere, because I do want like a fairly clean API. However, when I do want the events, I want to make it fairly easy for the low level part to access the subscriber. So I'm going to pass it through the context, which is like a pattern in Go to have like this kind of like dynamic scoped values in there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to call amp, and I actually don't even know. I'll just do some pretty high level prompting. Is I don't want the low level steps like OpenAI chat step. What are the steps OpenAI? What is it called? OpenAI transcribe, get conversation, simple chat step. Oh my God, why does it call that OpenAI agent? Oh, because it's in Geppetto. Okay, I do need to add the Geppetto repository here. So this could be pass watermill through subscriber through context, and then I'm going to add the Geppetto repo to it. I'm going to use that. So this WSM, my workspace manager, allows me to deal with like my many little repos because I don't have a mono repo. And that way I can like create work trees and manage them for a group of my sub repos, which is really useful. So go back to AMP, and instead of manually passing the event subscriber for the low level streaming API calls to publish UI relevant events, use a context pattern returning a NOP publisher if none has been populated to pass the UI subscriber from Pinocchio all the way down to OpenAI step. And then we have here the chat step. Oh, it was there, chat step. There we go. I don't want subscriber manager stuff to appear in the argument lists. Let's see what it does with that. Like this is, it might go wrong because it's fairly vague in my refactoring. But also this is something I'm experimenting with right now, is like how far can I go with just completely vibe refactoring, doing some pretty aggressive prompting, right? and then see what documentation does it find. Does it find like stuff that's like completely outdated? So that's something, that's actually something that's a pretty interesting thing to test out as well. So let me try that. I'm gonna go into, I'm gonna create a new repository, right? Like a new workspace, which we're going to use Pinocchio and Geppetto. And we're going to say validate Geppetto docs. And the thing that I'm interested in here is there's like a tremendous amount of markdown files and all of that in my Geppetto directory. And I kind of want the agent to verify like what is still good, what is incorrect, what should be deprecated. And so I'm just curious to see, using many parallel subagents, go over all the markdown files in Geppetto to validate, to check if they are still up to date. Keep tabs in a document review folder where each agent will write up their findings. Update documents that are close enough. Mark documents that are wildly different, irrelevant, as deprecated. The gtemp folders are mostly for intermediate artifacts. Note which are, but some documents in there might be of value. All right, let's do that. I got like a nice little mesh-tastic little device. I'm getting into radio, which is pretty fun, especially with LLMs, because the software is so bad. So I keep adding like new features. But that's a topic for another stream. Up here, I have like my software-defined radio, which I bought for $25 as well. It's like a totally new domain for me, but it's like it's gonna be really fun, I think. And the software UIs are so bad; it's gonna be so fun to vibe things to get them to be better. I already had like Manus build a Meshtastic BBS, which is pretty fun. Here, I'm really kind of like curious to see what comes out of it, because this is something we're starting to check at work as well, of like how we can review documentation. So I always kind of experiment with these things on my free time as well to see how much of that can be applied to the workspace, to the workplace. Sorry. All right, so this publisher manager, this is kind of the pattern that I wanted to have, right? It's like get the publisher manager out of the context, and then it looks like it's trying to keep backwards compatibility, which is something that we might want to kill. Remove subscriber from function argument. So yeah, maybe I will do that. So that's good. So this is going to be potentially a very valuable refactor. In the meantime, we have a lot of things in the fire now. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's one more hiding somewhere. I know it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things cooking at the same time. That's hitting my cognitive limits. And also it's like, at this point, jumping from one to the other, this is where I hope that Mcode gets an SDK ready pretty soon. Because I do want to have alerts show up in like a dashboard kind of fashion. All right. I'm not sure what it's doing here. It seems the glub filter might not be working as expected. Let me check if the files are currently being filtered. It could be that the glub filter is not working, because I vibed it earlier today. All right, so which one was this? This is the conversation manager still, right? So what happened here? Conversation manager, right? It does this weird thing where it's like folding up the one you're currently on. That's like a little bug in a sub-agent. The currently selected conversation seems to lose its preview. Then I don't know what this is. There's 2 empty boxes seemingly at the bottom, and also we seem to have 2 help widgets. So here I'm just going to copy paste this. And what else can we do? So we have the preview. We should be able to toggle the preview with space. To close it, right? We should have a search. The search is still not, it's still redirecting, wait, like, yeah, when opening the search, all keyboard presses should go to the search widget and not interact with the main widget. So we have that, and then we have the filters, which are really unreadable, huh? I don't know if this is going to be all salvageable or not. I'm going to remove the filters entirely for now. I don't think we can make this work in parallel. I think this is too fucked. And probably something we should vibe as a single widget. And then, because I think what it's doing here is like it's trying to render the selected tag by itself. So probably what I would do is, right, it's like, because the search seems to work. That's like the interesting thing, right? It's like, I think it's just like kind of the rendering of it is like a little bit weird. And then because of that, the whole layout is like a little bit weird. So make sure the widget sizes are properly recalculated and take borders padding into account. Use the lip gloss helper functions. So that might be something to add. Do this all in sub-agents. All right, we'll see. This is a lot. Like this was probably a little bit too much in terms of cleanup for the UI. I'm not fully sure what this gunk is down here, and probably also a result of not having given it the right guidelines that I now know are useful when doing charm bracelet stuff. We're still going to commit all of this. It's always nice to have like intermediate steps that compile. So now we have the command palette as well, which we were testing down here, right? And the problem was that when we were doing escape, it wouldn't go back, but now it does. And was there anything else? Overlay display centered. Oh yeah, it was the overlay. So now it's not showing any of the background, which is fine by me, you know. Because lip gloss 2 is going to have a good compositor, so that's fine by me. This is pretty nice. How bad is the code of it? Let's look. I think it's probably not going to be too bad. Model new with styles. Yeah, is that all it needs? Now it has messages. Execute messages, executed. So what does this model take? You give it new, you give it like a list of commands, register command, the action is going to be, yeah, it returns, what was T command again as a type? It's a function that returns a message, I think. Yeah, so that's a double thunk. Okay, this looks great. I like this. I'm going to add, write a nice little documentation about the command palette in Boba-T docs. Here, this like conversation history, this is more like an experiment. I don't think we'll necessarily get to somewhere satisfying. And then this is the refactor of the step factory. That I think is going to succeed and be pretty useful. Here, reviewing the documentation, I'm really curious about what's going to come out. And then where was our last? All right, so this is the glob filter. This is the file browser. That one I'm also a little bit unsure if we'll get to something satisfying today, because I do actually need to think about what I exactly want. But, you know, as far as it goes, we might as well test it. So how do we test it? How did we test this before? We were going into Pinocchio quality of life, right? Then we're going into Pinocchio, and then we're running this experiments UI. And if I do Alt S, and then I can do new test JSON, and then that actually doesn't work. And then here, oddly enough, the glob doesn't work anymore. This is kind of an interesting thing, glob. And then as soon as I leave the directory, the glob goes away. So the glob is something I just added. I said like add a glob feature. And it is interesting to see, right? Because the new worked, so the glob mode is like a little bit broken. So that's good to know. It's weird, right? Like, because which directory is this in? It's in Pinocchio. And then, yeah, the glob is weird because it should show the directories. We should also be able to ask for confirmation. And it looks like when I select a file, it should actually not quit. In a sub-agent, remove globbing for now. When selecting a file, creating a new file, save the words hello in it, and return to the chat. Use a callback function for the onSave thing. So, yeah. I think maybe, you know, maybe that's going to be enough. It's definitely going to be already better than the file picker we have right now. All right, so this is the review. No, this is the command palette documentation. So that's nice. We're in here. I'm going to add the documentation to Git as well. And then I'm going to do, actually now we're going to format the source code. We're going to run the lint. Just make sure that everything's good. And then this is a nice UI feature, right? Add command palette widget. And that's enough to create a pull request. We have the conversation manager. I'm going to stop streaming pretty soon, but the conversation manager is probably not going to go anywhere. It's cleaned up a little bit, right? So I'll leave the workspace around. but I don't think this is something I'll need to think about a little bit, and probably use a slightly different approach that I've been like experimenting with, which is having a chat with, I mean, it's nothing new. A lot of people do it, but it's using O3 to devise a refactoring strategy. But here also, I just like kind of skim over the refactor that it proposes and then give that to AMP code and do step-by-step, have like intermediate validation. And then if Sonnet or like if AMP code goes into a wrong direction, immediately stop, go back to O3, say, please amend the plan that we have for avoiding having this happen. Or I could ask AMP, to say like, look, this happened. Can you please update the documentation so it doesn't happen again? Then rewind the whole thing, because I do want to have a refactoring prompt that is foolproof. Because that's been I learn about prompting, and then if you want to reuse this for refactoring in the future, this is something you can then reuse as a document. So we'll see. We're going to wait for the conversation manager to finish. There's a lint error that the stupid security checks are annoying. And we're going to create a pull request, right? So create pull request, add command palette widget. Maybe we'll be able to add it to Pinocchio. We'll see. So we're going to have this generate the command palette. We can quit our AMP here. We're still at 36%, just to give you some context, some idea of how far we got into the context. This is the globbing part, and then this is the documentation review, and then this is the event publisher refactor. And so the event publisher refactor, this is something that I would like to have a look at. So should I do this now because I will forget, or should we look at the review of the documentation? So let me see. We do have the pass watermill through context thing. Let's go look at that. Gonna go into Geppetto was what it was, right? And if we look at the diff, it does have a not publisher manager, which is good. Then we have running the inference gets the publisher manager from the context now. It still has a reference to it in the structure. So that is something I do want to get rid of, right? Which is gonna add this. Well, we're gonna commit. We're gonna stage at least. I don't like this examples folder, but we'll catch that in code review. If we look at that, get diff cached. If we look at where the publisher manager comes from, this looks different than what we had before. Oh, this is the example. All right, that was fun. Fake demo key for the demo. I don't know what it tested there exactly. Actually, we might just remove the example. Oh, shit. What was all that? This is just like gunk anyway. Oh yeah, this is like mega old. Yeah, well, we'll remove it as part of that, so why not? All right, let's back to the diff. Okay, now we have all of this junk. All right, package. With publisher manager, get publisher manager, test with publisher manager, event publish manager. So we do want to remove the field in a sub agent, get rid of the publisher manager fields in steps so that the publisher manager is always passed through the context, right? And Gemini chat step go, for example. All right. And then here is our documentation review. Reviewed 72 markdown files across the Geppetto project using 8 parallel subagents. Cool. All findings are documented in the document review folder. Applied minor update to 5 files. Updated to do. Fixed API documentation. Corrected method signatures and steps documentation. Updated conversation package examples. Marked 4 files as deprecated. Flagged outdated external copies and development logs. Update major update needed. Status deprecation up to date. The GTM examples which you just deleted. That's so funny. Needs minor updates. Finished and then deprecated. So that is interesting. Also, because of the subagents, we're like 40% in, right? So if we go look at this workspace, then I'm kind of curious to see what the document review tells us. Major updates planned. That's maybe the most interesting one. Project entry point with wrong information. Yeah, that's true. Changelog MD can be deleted. Steps MD fundamental API documentation. JavaScript API MD. Strategic alignment. So the RFCs, we can just delete them, right? So we can say in parallel subagents, we can do update README, delete changelog MD, delete all RFCs, and update core API docs. Yeah, this is kind of a fun way of doing this. And where it's going to become even more fun is basically having one agent use only these documents to create the thing that needs to be in there. So basically using agents to kind of cross-validate that they're doing the right thing by building real source code, right? Which is like a fail-proof way of saying if it's able to write correct code without having to look too far into the code base, then that's great. If they do have to look into the code base, then they know enough to update the document as well. So it's kind of like a virtuous cycle. All right, this was a little bit too much for my brain, to be honest. How many do we have? Oh, this was the globbing still. And then the conversation manager is still going. This is the conversation manager, right? Like it's still running. Maybe we'll get somewhere. It's like a little bit slot machine at this point because I don't know how much I'm going to learn from this. Because I don't think anything like significantly changed since we started. All right, once all of these finish running, I'll also call it. Remove file picker globbing. Did it deleted the globbing entirely? That would be funny. No, it didn't. Oh, it didn't even have a callback before. Okay, so that's good to know. I'll probably quit after saving. I have a hunch. All right, so file picker, conversation manager, documentation, refactor. 4. And the one thing that worked was the command palette, which we created from scratch using Manus. And then we also have a mock OpenAI server, which might be pretty useful as well. I kind of curious to see it. Installed this, it did a test mock OpenAI server. And then indeed it tested it. That's funny. If the mock server does not do streaming, then also support streaming, and test it in tmux by slowly trickling out response tokens and capturing the pane to see the intermediate streaming steps. So it might as well build upon that. And then I'll actually also ask it to do this like new responses API. Because, you know, maybe tomorrow I'll wake up. There's still like a good chance that none of this works, right? This is something that happens pretty often where the model's just like, well, pretend that everything is like super cool, but it's actually none of it is super cool. All right, so it upgraded the docs, and here I'm really curious, and this is something, right? Like Geppetto. So it did remove quite a bit. Then what did it update in the docs? This file is deprecated in the profiles. All right, that's interesting. This is the stuff where I would say like, okay, now based on this documentation, you know, like just create something and then tell me how much you struggled. Because this is not really like a lot of documentation that has been updated. What about README? So change it from framework to go, all right, so that's cool. Features, multi-provider, conversation management. Yeah, this is pretty nice. This is really kind of cool to have it update all of this. Deleted the change log. It's pretty. It's a pretty funny way of doing things. I like it. Update documentation. So it's not that I'm going to pull request it right now, but it was an interesting exercise, and we're still at 24%, right? Like I could still say like, now in subagents, try building software using this document, this document, this document, and let me do one thing. Do one more thing for me. What do you think needs to be documented for people to make the best of this framework? What would make for a great documentation page, wiki, structure? Save your suggestions in document review as well. All right, so the publisher manager fields have been removed from the steps, and this was in pass Watermill subscriber through the context, right? So I do have Pinocchio here, right? So we're going to go work use this, because that's a good way to validate if this actually worked, is to just go run. And I mean, we can run even the experiment UI. So this seems pretty good because this is using the streaming events. And we can do Pinocchio code Unix hello. Then we should see it streaming here, which it doesn't seem to be doing. And this is the stupid info that we were looking at before in Boba-T. So that's something I definitely need to fix. So let me do that. Make tag patch. Oh no, what did I do here? Yeah, it needs to be released. Tag patch release 0022. We're going to bump it over here. And there's for sure one bug, which is the console streaming is probably off. That's something I expected because it's like the code for it is crappy anyway. All right, so if I bump this here, I'm getting the new version of Boba-T, which is great. And then I can run Pinocchio again. Here we should be seeing streaming, but it's not catching on. And then here, I'm also not seeing the streaming in the main Pinocchio. So that is a problem. Right? So that needs to be fixed. Like there's something that's broken here. But it could also be that actually I do need to, yeah, update Pinocchio. And, oh, where's the UI part of this? Yeah, the chat runner. Publisher manager, register publisher, context with publisher manager on UI. Yeah. That needs to be fixed. So how are we going to make sure we don't get lost in all our things? I'm going to add a to-do in the top of the workspace. I think that's maybe the best idea to keep track of all the things that are still left to do. So here, Pinocchio doesn't seem to properly register the streaming publisher, but apparently command experiments UI does, if it does use the same mechanism. So that's the thing to fix. And then this is the list of tutorials to be done, which is pretty interesting as well. So that was cool. In the validate docs, we should say review the doc changes and push. Go back to Geppetto. There's nothing here, and then there's a document review here. I'm going to add this to do in document review. All right. What else did we have cooking? We have the file picker here. Where's the file picker? Oh, so this was the Boba-T pull request. Implement a reusable command palette. Implementation detail, integration pattern. All right. So that's a fairly easy to merge pull request since it doesn't affect existing functionality. This is still the conversation manager. And then did we have the file picker somewhere? Where's the file picker? There's the file picker. It's still saying running tools, which is sometimes a bug that I've seen, uh, like a bug in AMP. So if we do the experiments UI and we do this, decide to choose test JSON, it actually quits. Let me see, because it probably doesn't know about experiments UI. Let me see if it does that in the real Pinocchio as well. Because this actually has 400 bytes as well in there. See, and it shouldn't be quitting. And then this, however, does contain the conversation, right? So after saving, the application shouldn't quit, but return to the chat window, because it still does that. It's doing some weird, like this might be time to start looking a little bit more closely what it's doing. But we're still gonna commit intermediate. Just gonna call it poop because it's not working. Still file picker is still quitting on save, it seems. And so the to-do here is going to be make sure the file picker doesn't cause the chat app to quit after saving. Gonna make bump glazed as well to get the latest boba tea version. And all right, this I'll let run even though I stopped the streaming, and then we can look at the conversation manager one last time, and then call it. So the conversation manager, clean up history browser. This was in Vibes, June 22nd. Conversation manager snapshot. So it still does this weird thing. It has removed the preview, and in the search results it actually looks pretty nice. So we're actually getting somewhere, right? This also looks nicer now when I told it to properly compute the resize. So there's actually a chance that we might get somewhere. Yeah, this is actually more promising than I thought. So gonna add the PKG as well and CMD, and then I think the git commit message probably is nice. Yeah. It's not perfect, but significantly better than it was before. So this one, I'm not going to continue giving it instructions because I would need to think a little bit about it. This one, I'm also curious to see what might be going wrong and maybe learning a little bit about it. This was a conversation manager, right? So we're just going to save the thread actually into to-do as well. Last thread here, and then continue cleaning up the conversation manager. So use lip gloss to style the tags filters, properly show preview in the history page, make the search page a little bit less jarring in its resizing. Okay. And then, yeah, we can merge the pull request maybe as a last step. Cool. So integrating the command palette is going to be one of the next steps. So, however, at this point we can delete the workspace that we created. It's going to tell us, oh, it got merged, right? It got merged. The rebase is gone because I deleted the branch. and then you can say, please remove it. The thing is that in this, there's files left over, and so it like doesn't want to delete them. There's a flag for it, but I'm going to first do a double check, and it should be printed here. Like I've got a big refactor of the workspace manager that failed, and then I want to do it again with the knowledge that I've accumulated. See, there's the command palette demo is the only one that's left. And then now we can delete the workspace. It's gonna delete the work trees and the branches, and we're done. And it's gone from here. So Pinocchio quality of life was the file picker. The Geppetto docs is probably just something that I can pull request without any problems. The Watermill subscriber needs a little bit of work, and the cleanup history browser, I think, is on a good path and not worth being removed. Let's go take a final look at the streaming part here. So it seems to have been able to do the streaming. Let's see, is it able to do this? Streaming, more tokens. Yeah, it does look to be streaming here, which is interesting. Slow streaming demo. And the cool thing about Tmux is that it's fairly easy for this thing to run, multiple programs in there, run like a Go thing as well. I wonder if the Go thing is like even running though. Yeah, so it's building it and it's running it in the background. So it's not running that one in the Tmux, which is fun. And then it's querying it, chat completion. So now overnight, I'm just going to say now do a full mock implementation of the new responses API. Look for docs online. Cool, and this was very satisfying. We're going to let it do its work overnight. This we're going to continue tomorrow. We've finished the pull request. This is, I don't know what's going on with this guy. I don't know if it's like hanging. All right. Well, but that was the stream for tonight. I hope that was fun. And see you.